Welcome to our new series, The 200 Movie Challenge. Our goal this year is to watch 200 movies that we haven't seen yet. If you want to listen to the full podcast where this clip is from, the link will be in the description. Now enjoy today's movie.
But Soda, you just mentioned it had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an end.
Oh my God, yes.
I want to use this concept for my next. So here's why. All right, this is gonna be. So I did get a fourth movie, and we both did, and I forget where I was looking. And again, no to be September. And I saw this picture and this premise, and I think it might have been Netflix. I could be wrong, but you know how sometimes when you just put your cursor or something just like over, it just plays like a quick trailer. And I saw this, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Mel Gibson. I'm like, all right, I'm interested. And I'm going to explain a little bit. So yes, I actually saw a 2022 movie called On the Line. Now, this does star Mel Gibson, and I'm going to say, I'm breaking this down into three parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end. And this is a what to do and what not to do. This is me being. Now, I didn't even go to college for writing, but this is how you properly should or should not write a film. And I'm going to explain this. So first of all, let me give you the quick premise. Mel Gibson plays a late night, overnight, kind of a shock radio host. Like, he basically takes calls, but he'll say whatever. It doesn't matter. You ask him any questions, sex, work, whatever. So this is one night he comes to the radio station, and he has a new board operator whose name is Dylan. His co-host is female named Sam, and so he comes in. His boss is talking about ratings. He's like blah blah blah. Typical, just Mel Gibson just being grumpy old man at first. You're kind of getting the feel what this movie is. And so he goes live, and I'm going to jump to that. So he goes live, and he's talking to Dylan, the new guy, and they're having a little back and forth, and he brings up it's his birthday. He's like, well, it's my birthday, right? And he's like, no, I did. He's like, you come to a new show, you know who I am, you're a big fan of mine. He's like, you don't even say, and then he's like, fuck you, just go. Just leave the studio. I don't even want to look at you anymore. And Dylan thinks it's a joke. He's like, no, seriously, I want you to leave now. And Dylan starts walking away, and his co-host Sam's looking at him, and she's like, it's his first day. You got to be that mean. Come on, tell him it's a prank. And Mel Gibson, who his name is Elvis. His name is fucking Elvis in this movie. But anyhow, he's like, come back, Dylan. I'm just joking, blah, blah. So that kind of gives you, Dylan's like, okay, haha, jokes on the new guy. So, that's the kind of thing they do, and so they're taking calls. And, some of it, again, quick, you should leave his ass, fire, you're sleeping with the, all that kind of stuff. And then he gets a random call who's like, I'm going to do something. I don't want to do it, but there's just no, I need to end this. They think it's a suicide. And he hangs up, and Elvis is a little worried. He looks at co-host like, try and get him back on the line. Should we call the police? I'm like, let's just see what we can do, find out where he's at, blah, blah, blah. So night goes on, takes a few more. That phone call calls back, and what happens is, the guy's just like, yeah, I'm here in Pasadena, and what Mel Gibson finds out is this guy's at his house. He's basically broken into his house. He's like, yeah, I just fed these two Dobermans some meat with, and he's just like, and the guy breaks into the house and basically holds his wife and daughter hostage. And so they're like, call the cops. They're like, I'm going to shoot him. They're like, no, just don't. And he's like, you ruined my life. You did the. So this premise, now hence writing 101. I'm intrigued. This story starts off good. It gives me.
I'm intrigued right now.
It is very. I'm like, okay. And I'm going to say this, Soto. Mel Gibson, I know he's not crazy. Going? This, I it made me remember why Mel Gibson's a fucking good actor. And so, as the night, as this is going on, he's trying to talk to him, like, call the cops, he's blah, blah, blah. And the guy fires a shot, and then Mel Gibson freezes. He's like, you need to listen to me. You're going to have to fix your wall, but next one might hit one of you, and obviously the wife, the daughter gets on the line. Daddy, I'm scared. You're like, come to find out, so that, the guy on the other end, he's talking. He's like, well, what happened to so and so? You're sleeping with your co-host, right? And he's like, they look at each other and they're like, we're not having an affair. He's like, admit you're having an affair, So he's basically admitting things that aren't true. And he's like, yeah, do you remember so-and-so? She used to be your former. And he's like, well, yeah, she was my switchboard operator before, she left. He's like, yeah. And after she left, you made fun of her weight. You made fun of this on air. You did this. She, just couldn't take it anymore. She had an image problem and she killed herself. And he's like, do you remember me? He's like, I guess he worked security. So he was like a former security guard, but he's like, you never took time to say hi. You kind of just always came by, nodded, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. So now we're building, okay, this guy's a little bit crazy, but his girlfriend killed herself because
I'm intrigued.
So he's like, I want you to suffer like she suffered. I want you to go to the roof. So he takes a wireless mic, he goes up to the roof, and like his whole thing, like his team, like, just don't, just wait for the cops. It's like, what? He's like, I want you to jump. He's like, my girlfriend, after you did all that, jumped from a 5-story building and killed herself. I want you. You want your family to live? You jump now. And it's like, I can't, because he's obviously, it's one thing, but he's like, Dylan, if he doesn't jump in the next 30 seconds, I want you to push him off or I will shoot these two and it'll be your fault. So obviously the new guy's like, what the fuck? And so Mel Gibbs, he's like, hold on. He's like, I'm jumping. So he takes off the headset. And then they do a weird camera angle, but you find out that he didn't jump. He jumped to the side, and he's just telling everyone to be quiet. And the guy's like, Dylan, did he jump? And Dylan's like, kind of nervous, like, yeah, no. He's like, he jumped. He's like, I need proof. I need to see a dead body. And he's like, well, you can't really see it from here. He's trying to keep him online. And then a drone comes up. He's like, oh, I don't see a body. Dylan, you lied to me. He's like, why the fuck would you do that, Dylan? And then you hear bang, basically 2 shots, and then silence. Everything's dead. And basically Mel Gibson is trying to now leave the studio and go to his house. The co-host's like, Dylan, go with him. And as they're going through the studio, the main thing, Dylan grabs, Mel Gibson's like, hold on, the police want to talk to you. They're at your house now. And and the police are like, listen, we're at your house. No one's here. Like, your dogs are fine. Your wife and daughter aren't here, but no one's in the house. And then you hear like the laughter. Like, he's like, do you think I would really do that right now? So first third, right there, very intriguing. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, where's this going now? Because I'm remembering Payback. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm into it. So you find out that there's going to be some spoilers, Toto, because I don't want you to see this movie. So first third, if you write, this is how you write. You create your characters, you create, good chemistry, you create something that's, all right, what's going to happen? Everything is perfect. Then you find out, basically admits that he's somewhere in the radio station. And this is where the second third falls so off the rails. Because then it becomes a Scooby-Doo. Oh, is he in this room? Oh, he must be in the security room. He's seen us on camera. Oh, no, he must be here. And all they're doing is going room to room and can't find this guy. And all I'm thinking, like, what the fuck's going on? And mind you, Soto, I forgot to mention, as they left, they find out that the whole place is bombed. So basically, no one can leave now, and police can't come in. There's actually a tense scene because they killed one of the security guards, and the guy did to get in. And Mel Gibson is holding a bat. The other guy is holding like a switchblade. And then the police are on the other side of the door. Like one policeman saying, freeze, drop your weapons, dead body in front of him. This is actually a hilarious scene. Sad, but hilarious. And they're like, don't come in. He's like, I'm coming. He's like, there's a bomb, blah, blah. Don't shoot, please. We got to do this. And then he gets a call from like the police station's like, just stand back. Everything's everything's being investigated. Just do not go in the building, just stay outside, until more help, units arrive. But it was just hilarious because you just see Mel Gibson. It was so cheesy. And that's how the second, third went. It's just like, oh, and the guy's like, if someone were to play you in a movie, who would play you? Tom Cruise? And Mel Gibson's like, this would make a fucking bad movie. I'm like, oh my God, this is not how you break the fourth wall. This is so stupid. I lost complete interest. But I'm like, I'm in this ride. So that's how this whole thing goes. So yeah, so him and Dylan are trying to find whatever. And they find out that he's now back where kind of the radio, the host is supposed to talk. Mind you, all this is actually going on air. Like he has like everything is, and fans are like, like, oh my God, call the police. What's going on? This, blah, blah, blah. You're like, why aren't the police there yet? What's so all this is on air. But yeah, so he's on the main mic And he's got like that kind of like a button. He's like, listen, this is a dead switch. If I let go, this whole place goes boom. And or he's like, and your family's here, and they got like bombs attached to them. And then so the SWAT team finds the family, and basically they agree to take the vest off the mother and daughter, and Mel Gibson's like, just put the vest on me. Everyone else just go. Just me and you. You can your issues with me, not any of them. And so they're like, he's like, okay. The killer's like, okay. So the SWAT guy comes in with the vest. Now, Soto, here's where I start thinking logically. Would a policeman or a SWAT man bring the bomb vest into the studio? Wouldn't they just say, fuck it, take it out of the building? He's like, we saved, so anyhow, what happens is, and then the killer's like, he kind of looks, he's like, no, put it on Dylan. He fucked up. And so they put the vest on Dylan, and he's like, the SWAT guy's like, I'm so sorry. And then all of a sudden, the killer lets go of the button. Dylan freaks out. The whole thing, Soto, is a fucking prank on Dylan. It's just a prank. They went through the whole thing. They all start laughing. Mel Gibson, everyone's laughing. Dylan's in shock, and he's like, and then he's on here. It's like, yeah, we called the PD. They knew about this. Nothing serious is happening. This has all been one big joke. And then so Dylan's just obviously in shock because obviously he thought his wife and daughter died. That didn't happen. He had all this, and he starts going back, and they put in mics like, how do you feel? This and that. There's this big reveal. And Dylan slips, falls down like these stairs, and basically hits his head, breaks it against the pipe, and dies. And so everyone's shocked. So now it's the next morning. His boss. Now again, I'm spoiling this film. Now we're gonna get in. This is the final third, and now you're gonna. What happens is the police are there. And he gives his testimony, and they're like, "Listen, journalists are upfront, go out back," and he does. And his boss is like, "I told you not to do these fucking pranks. There's just no one's watching this and that." And he's like, "I will never do it." And she's like, "You're right. You're off air." And he's like, "I gotta go home." And she's like, "Let me give you a drive. Let me drive you." The journalists are by the car. He's like, and as he does, they hear around this radio station. They're talking about what's going on there. And then they're like, and by the way, Elvis, happy birthday. And the driver happens to be Dylan. So it was like a reverse dumbass prank that they played on him because it was his fucking birthday. And everyone's in on the joke. No one dies. But now, Soto, it's just like, this is where you give us the twist. It's so dumb. But here's the thing. As I said, this whole thing's a setup, correct? Like Dylan, everyone's in on it. The joke is on Mel Gibson. There's a scene where his co-host is trying to rush to an elevator to get the mic down the elevator so he can get back on the line so the killer, doesn't kill his family. I'm like, well, technically, she's in on the joke. So why would they show, because they're separated. There's no need for her to run, outside of, like, they thought of a cool, so-called cool twist, but they didn't backtrack to make that twist work. So when you start breaking, and this is where the third part, right? Like, if you're going to put a twist, go ahead. That's fine. As long as it works.
Sure.
But look at your whole story to make sure, because again, if everyone's in on it, there's no need, because she's basically trying to find like the wireless mic. She's like, I'm sending it down the elevator now. But she would have had that prepared. She wouldn't have ran. They would have been like, hee, let me put it down. Like,
yeah, of course.
But no. The scene is, so there's so many scenes when you rethink, like, well, they're separated. Why would she or these other people be doing this? Because the joke, even though is on him or on Dylan, like, they weren't even there. So first third, fucking awesome. I was in it. I was happy. I was like, oh, this is a thriller. I'm like, I was thinking about the movie Payback, where they kidnap him. He's like, I'm like, because when they did the two shots and he's about to leave, and like I'm like, holy shit, they killed him. And I'm like, no, but I'm like, where, what? And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but then it went all Scooby-Doo, the worst twist ever. And it took me out of the movie. So yeah, first third, you want to learn how to write a thriller? Watch On the Line. You want to watch a dumbass Scooby-Doo caper? Watch the second third. If you want to learn how to do your twist properly, watch the end and then rewatch the movie and fix your problems. This was shit, Soto. And I've read some reviews, and they even said, like, Mel Gibson's, they even said the first half's decent. I'm like, I agree. I was in it. this is great. You know, like what the fuck's happening? You know, you're just trying to figure it out. And then yeah, the fact that it was a prank, but then a backwards second prank because it's just a birthday thing and no one died, nothing happened, this and that. I'm like, yeah, they were like, yeah, we were getting a new guy, but we hired this guy because he knows how to fall downstairs. You know, so he's a stunt man. Then I'm like, well, what happened to the new switchboard operator? You know that. So yeah, I spoiled the whole movie. I didn't care because I want to save you from this. But that's my point. This movie started because you're intrigued. If I would have ended this film this review at the first half, you'd been like, oh, I might see this. No, don't. But I will say, like I said, the first half, Mel Gibson acting was great. Like he was serious. It reminded me a lot of his early '90s stuff, and I was like, damn, this is good. I'm like, I you know, I forget how good he, kind of like Russell Crowe. You know, yeah, they've done a lot of shit, but when they get serious and they give it 100. But yeah, there's scenes like they're doing no or laughing, and it's just so slow mo and cheesy. So I'm going to cut to the chase because I know we're getting on the time, and I took a lot for this. This is the one that irked me the most. I did enjoy the first third, so I'm going to say it's not close to the bottom, but it might be in my bottom third. Yeah, and mind you, Soda, my bottom third is like from 60 on.
Yes.
So I say that. That movie started. Is it all right? At the moment, because I'm looking at it again as a whole. First third is great, and I'm looking at some of these movies. I'm like, some of this isn't great. I'm putting this at number 58. This is going right underneath Final Destination Bloodlines. This might go down later when I sit and think about it. I don't know, because I'm looking what's below it. 58. This is going underneath Final Destination Bloodlines. And I think and that's just because I think the first third helped. Because I wasn't it. There was a lot of some of the stuff in the bottom was just crap from front to back, or just the premise was there or not. This was a very good, like I said, I have to look at it as a whole. But this could fall, yeah, because the movies like Smile, The Hunt, they got to be below this, because those weren't. Shark Side of the Moon, I'm telling you this right now before we go. Shark Side of the Moon might get a bump. I'm looking at things. I'll worry about that. I will. I'm not attacking my list right now. I'm kind of at 58, just because like I'm looking at things underneath it, like Cooties, Beetlejuice, Smile. Like this had a strong third, and I think that's the only reason. And I'm really telling like I said, if it kept it up, this could have easily broken top 20, maybe top 10. But after that twist, and they're just going around the building, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Where's the thriller? Why is this guy sounding like the Joker all of a sudden? Like he was like, why? I think he even said it, like Joaquin Phoenix would play me. I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad, so fucking bad. But I started off good, so